Hi everybody. Today we're going to have another rainbow day in art. We're going to talk about a French painter. His name was Henri Matisse. Cutouts. We're going to be making some cutouts like Matisse. We're also going to learn about opposite colors. What's the opposite of young? Old. What is the opposite of short? Long or tall? So what's the opposite of green? Do you know? Because I know. Complementary colors are on our color wheel. When we have these colors, just like I have here, do you realize two things? One, there's 6 of them. And the other, if you start with red and you go around the circle, we are in the order of the rainbow. Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Let's take a color, red. And if we take the opposite color right on the other side of the color wheel, that's called the complementary colors. The complementary color of orange is blue. The complementary color of purple, yellow. The complementary color of green, like my sweater, is red. I always like red and green the best. They are my favorite complementary colors because they're the Christmas colors, red and green. That's the easiest for me to remember. So if you have your color wheel, you can get it out or you can use mine. We're going to read a story first about Matisse and his good, not friend, Picasso, Pablo Picasso from Spain. And then we're going to be making some cutouts in complementary colors, the opposites. When Picasso Met Matisse by Nina Layden. 2 modern art friends. There once was a young pig named Picasso. While the other piglets rolled in the mud and played games, Picasso painted. He painted anything and everything in a most unusual way. At the same time, there was once a young bull named Matisse. Matisse was not like other bulls. He wasn't interested in bullfighting. Matisse was happy only when he painted pictures. And he painted big, bold, and bright pictures. In time, word of Picasso's talent spread through the pig provinces. Soon, art-loving pigs from all over lined up to buy his creations. At the same time, Matisse was getting famous in a cattle community. There weren't many households that didn't own a masterpiece. Picasso and Matisse were becoming art superstars, but this time, and it came with a price, everybody wanted to see them. Art buyers, art sellers, art students, art historians, art groupies. It was an art attack. One day, Picasso got fed up and said, "I'm tired of this noisy pig pen." At the same time, Matisse declared, "I'm sick of this crowded cow town." Needing a change, they both decided to look for a peaceful place where they could paint without distractions. So each of the 2 artists looked far and wide for the perfect spot. Picasso found a lovely farm looking towards the east. Matisse found a handsome farm facing to the west. After Picasso moved in, he went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. At the same time, Matisse went to introduce himself to his new neighbor across the road. That is how Picasso met Matisse. And coincidentally, that is how Matisse met Picasso. At first, Picasso and Matisse were friendly and welcomed each other as neighbors. But soon things began to change. It started one day when Picasso criticized one of Matisse's paintings. Then Matisse made fun of one of Picasso's. Matisse called Picasso an art hog. Then Picasso called Matisse a mad cow. Matisse quipped, "You paint like a 2-year-old. Picasso said, "You paint like a wild beast." Matisse raged, "Your colors look like mud." Picasso spat, "Your paintings look like color by numbers." Then things got really out of hand. It was a modern art mess. Picasso stormed off into his house. "That Matisse doesn't like my art," he huffed. "Well, I'll show him." And Matisse bullied his way into his house. "I'll give that Picasso something he can really criticize," he snorted. Then a full-scale feud erupted, but it was a most unusual battle. Armed with ladders and buckets of paint, Matisse launched the first attack. He started at dawn. By the end of the evening, he had succeeded in transforming the outside of his house into a monster-sized masterpiece. Not to be outdone, Picasso fired up his painting brushes and in full view of the enemy counterattacked. He turned his farm into a huge and outrageous pork of art. The two artists then retreated into their houses and pulled down the shades. Picasso certainly didn't want to look out his window and stare at a masterpiece, and Matisse didn't have a desire to give his rooms a view of Picasso. This presented a problem, and there seemed to be only one solution. Without a word to each other, Picasso and Matisse each began to build a huge wooden fence down the middle of the road. At first, Picasso and Matisse seemed satisfied. Both artists went back to painting by themselves. But after a while, Picasso was surprised that he missed that bull-headed Matisse. At the same time, Matisse found his studio empty without the presence of a pig-headed Picasso. Picasso pondered, "That Matisse isn't such a bad artist. He has some interesting ideas." Matisse moaned, "That Picasso may not paint like me, but he knows what he's doing." However, being naturally pig-headed and bull-headed, neither artist knew how to apologize to the other. So they did what they do best. They let their paintbrushes do the talking. Picasso painted one side of the fence and Matisse painted the other. Each worked until they were exhausted. It was strangely quiet when they were done. Then, curious to see what Matisse had been doing, Picasso sprinted around to the other side. At the same time, Matisse galloped over to Picasso's side. The silence was broken as the two artists began laughing at their amazing work of art. From that day on, Picasso and Matisse became great friends. They happily took down the fence and shared their different views. A few months later, a big museum bought the fence. Picasso called his side When Picasso Met Matisse, and Matisse called his side When Matisse Met Picasso. The critics called it incredible. That's the story of Pablo Picasso and Henri Matisse, two artists, one from Spain and one from France. They kind of competed, and they weren't always friends, but they were both great modern artists. We're going to talk about Matisse or Matisse today, and we have to figure out complementary colors and cutouts. Matisse's favorite shape were squiggles. So we're going to practice our squiggles with scissors. Now, if you don't have colored papers, here are mine. If you don't have colored papers, you can also use cardboard and white paper. So first I'm going to make a project with colors, and then we can do the same thing with cardboard and white. So we've got to figure out complementary colors. Okay, let's start with purple. If we take a purple paper and we find the opposite color, purple is opposite of yellow. Here are two complementary colors. And next color up is going to be green. Do you remember this one? My favorite. What are the two Christmas colors? Green and red. Here are two more complementary colors, which leaves blue and orange as complementary colors. So I'm going to take a cardboard to be my painting. And we're going to draw with scissors, just like Matisse. So first I'm going to take a red square and let's see. Let's make it the size of my postcard. We're going to start with a red square and put a green squiggle. And then we can take a purple paper and make a yellow squiggle. We're going to make first our squares. Here's a red square, and now watch me make a square of each of the 6 colors. Roy G. Biv. Now I have my rainbow of colors. This cardboard is going to be a little bit too small. I found a big red cardboard. And here I'm going to put my work of art. I'm going to choose 3 colors to go as rectangles on the bottom. So I need 1 of each complementary color. I'm going to take blue and green and let's see, blue and red. Green and red, blue and orange. So now I need to choose purple or yellow. I think I will choose yellow. Okay, and I'm going to glue these on, and then we get to make our squiggles. And now is squiggle time. I put yellow, green, and blue. So now I'll have their complementary colors. Let's make a Matisse squiggle with lots of arms. We'll go around the bend and around the bend and around the bend and around the bend. And we'll save this for a minute to cut out. Let's make another Matisse squiggle. These are almost like a Matisse star. They kind of look like a hand too. And now let's make another silly, silly, silly squiggle. Up and down and up and down. I love making squiggles. What we'll do now is to really draw with our scissors and to cut them out. Let's go fast. If it were only as easy as it looks on a video to cut cutouts, make sure that you don't make them too small or too detailed. So now I have my cutouts and my complementary colors. Where do I put the orange cutout? Well, let's see. Opposite of orange is blue. We're going to glue it right here on the blue. And my red cutout, the Christmas colors. Red goes with green, you know that. And one more beautiful purple, and that will go with yellow. So now I'm going to glue these down and I'll show you the final result. It is great fun to make cutouts like Matisse. I hope you have a great time and you'll learn how a color can be opposite of another color, complementary colors. Have a great time, and now I'll make one with cardboard and white. Have a great time drawing with scissors.